JB here, February 25th, 2025, 2/25/25 at 3:19 here. Talk really quick about the market, some names I'm looking at. Go from there. S&P starting to bounce here. We'll see if it gets to green before the close, but interesting session nonetheless. So still under its 50-day moving average, opened into green, similar to yesterday, and then we had a reversal. Again, similar to yesterday, a SPY all the way down to 589.56 about 11:30. And it's funny, you read the headlines and it's consumer confidence is the reason we sold off. And meanwhile, the market was already at five. The SPY was at 593 at 10 o'clock before that uh, consumer confidence number came out. So just however they want to rationalize it, it seemed like it was just continuation, and now we're getting a little bounce here. And I mean, there's things that I'll talk about in a second, some concerning things, right? So MicroStrategy, which really wasn't much talked about until its big run in November. I mean, it was 2024, but you have that with Bitcoin, some of that, and then Nvidia tomorrow. So I guess those are the big stories here. And you look at Tesla here today under $300 for a little while. So is this just a agreed reset before the next leg? Is this the start of a major, a bigger pull coming? I mean, a good thing here, you take a look at the SPY chart. I mean, the 50-day, hopefully we can get over the 50-day before the end of the day, which is 598.60. But we have a hammer candle on the SPY. So hammers are typically can be reversals. So, I mean, we'll find out tomorrow if there's any follow through. Um, hang on one second here, folks. And then, private equity firm work need 1 billion dear for Dave's Hot Chicken. All right, sorry, there's news coming through. And then yields are again just tanking, I guess you would call it, right? So you take a look at the TLT and it's 91.39. The last time it was over 91. I'm trying to see early December. So uh, again, maybe this is the time the market's going to start to look. The S&P will kind of chop around, and small caps maybe takes the reign. But we'll see here. 589, well, 590.46 was the big handle. So we got under that for a minute. That was the early February lows and then bounced. So watching that into today and tomorrow. Maybe we don't get there in a while, who knows, but definitely some big supports there to watch. And like I've been saying, I'll be looking at areas to add more hedge positions. I added some Visa puts today. Yesterday around the same time, I added the JPM puts, and then when I was doing my rant in the afternoon, I mean, the puts weren't looking so hot, but they paid off this morning. I'm not saying we're going to have deja vu tomorrow, but I'm going to continue to hold those puts into tomorrow and, see how the market reacts. Because hedges also give an opportunity to get a little, at least start to nibble on the call side, right? Just in case, we do have an overnight gap lower, take advantage of that and then nibble some calls. So it kind of serves two purposes. And then the small caps, the IWM was down to 215, was flat. Are we green now on the small caps? It looked like we're going to get to green. Yep, just went to the green here on the IWM. So again, some silver linings. I always try to find the silver linings. The sell-off though in the morning, it's kind of like you almost know it's going to happen. And UPB used to say it's like you have the finger stuck in the electrical outlet. You can't pull it out because you're just staring at it. And you're like, we're going to pull again. Here it is in the morning. And we had similar pulls. We had bounces on some of the days, but a pull yesterday, a pull today. So certainly that open to 10:30 window and to 11 o'clock will be something to watch. Then other things that I posted in FinTwit in the chat room, like NVIDIA earnings last quarter were the most hyped. This quarter, especially with the market being a little choppy here, it's certainly going to be an important report after the close tomorrow. I'm sure it's going to be a monster number. People may want to hear about DeepSeek and things like that. I don't even know how much the earnings matter. It's almost like it's either going to be a sell the news or sell the dip. And the stock was at 150, so you can make the case that it's going to rally just because of where it is. I think the bigger story here is the Bitcoin, and it's like, to me, is if the market wants to continue higher, you can't have it can't, and it's down to it hit November lows earlier, 84,000 or whatever on Bitcoin. But then you look at a stock like MicroStrategy, it's like you have to think that if that pulls under $200, or if there's a major continuation to its sell-off, there's going to be like ramifications in the equity market. Just my opinion, right? I don't know if folks shouldn't have to liquidate positions. I don't know. And I'm not calling MicroStrategy. I mean, it's the most, if it's a Ponzi scheme or whatever you want to call it, it is the most transparent out there of all time, right? I mean, everybody knows what it does. What the stock does is pretty much a proxy for Bitcoin, but at supposed higher leverage, whatever. But you have to think if crypto, if Bitcoin gets to a point, like what does that look like, and what does that do to the market? So I think that's kind of like in the back of my head. I read all this stuff about the bearish stuff, especially when it's easy to call to be a bear when or to come out and paint that narrative when Bitcoin was over 100,000 on the epic run. They were painting the same picture if you were around at $800, at 2,000, at 5,000, at 10,000. So it's always going to be there. It's just, I think there's a lot of different, back then there wasn't as many different assets uh, tied to Bitcoin and futures and things like that. Some of it I think should have helped to with the volatility. I mean, there is still big swings, but not as volatile as it used to be. But then the other side is like, what happens if this continues to sell off? And at some point, if MicroStrategy gets to $100, what does that look like? Do they have to start liquidating? Like, and rants for other days. But that's the thing that would keep me awake at night. Not Nvidia's earnings tomorrow. Although I hope, decent earnings. Commentary is good. Jensen's he's always good at being able to give a great story of the future. Great, that's most of what the earnings are, right? The future, the potential of AI and other things. So hopefully he doesn't talk about the quantum computing again, right? Uh, so that's that. But yeah, you take a look at MicroStrategy. I mean, it's just down to November low, so it helps keep it in context and perspective. But yeah, that'd be something that gets me worried. All right, so now individual names. Quick about Redfin. So Redfin reports Thursday after the close. It was running this morning. Hopefully, it's the start of something, especially with the yields going where they're going. I almost went to get some more March 10s, considering where my March 12s are. But I'll just, no reason to take on more risk pre-earnings. I only have to wait 2 more days and then see what happens. And then maybe I'll look to add some more strikes. But look at the chart. I mean, I think it was 939 to hit last Wednesday, $9 the next day. It's a stone throw away from breaking that. So I think that will bode well, especially into tomorrow and then into earnings. So really like to set up here in Redfin. And then some other. So JP Morgan, again, I was doing my little rant yesterday afternoon talking about the puts, and then it opens at, I think it opened 260, 261. No, 262, hit 263, and then just embarked on a sell-off. Why don't I have this up here right now? Where's my JP Morgan? I don't know why I have it. But anyway, so once it broke 245, it started breaking 245. I looked to get more of my puts out. So I got some out for double, got some out for a couple 100%, and then I just held the last few. And I'll just hold on to those. I mean, it's still down 1% on the day, but of course, in hindsight, should I have sold all my puts? No, I'm just going to hold some on just in case. 4 sessions in a row to the downside, and five sessions ago was at all-time highs. So and the 50-day moving average there is 253.40. It came down to 253.35. Tell me the 50-day moving average isn't important on some of these names. But I'll continue to hold those. So thankfully, the hedge served its purpose, able to make some money, still holding some more, so I can just in case there's more follow through tomorrow. And then Visa, and I was looking for another name I had on the watch list. Part of the plan, if we broke some areas, I was going to add some more puts. That 290, excuse me, 590.49 level, that was a key spot. And then Visa, which looks like a rock, and you would think with consumer confidence being the whole, front and center, you would think a name that's probably one of the most important. These processing companies would be weaker than they are. But maybe I have the blinders on like I've had over the years with Visa, but. Got those puts. They actually were solidly green, got close to 100%, similar to what happened with my JPM puts yesterday. And then it's bounced. I'll continue to hold those. Won't take much for those to pay. And I think they offer a decent hedge for market downside. Other names. So, I was put on in a chat room earlier today. I think I was talking about yesterday, these mid to large biotech names, the Biogen, the Regeneron, VRTX. But Biogen again today, all the way up to 145. And you look at the chart, it's kind of like slow and steady. It's at its 50-day moving average, 145.50. Again, it came up to 145.69. Again, tell me the 50-day moving average doesn't mean much. And it's like, it almost looks like one of these days it's going to explode. So, I'm a little I'm just being a little cautious here with the market, but could be a name I add similar. Regeneron's another name, although the calls are very expensive, so hard to play that on a risk reward basis. But that one looks like it wants to head to 750 and beyond. I mean, similar setup here, almost like not identical charts, but just looks like someone's either buying a sector or what have you. All right, so that's Regeneron, Biogen. Teledoc, I mean, it's flat here. Well, it's kind of disappointing. It just can't find its footing. This will be one, two, three. Well, if it stays in red 4 days in a row, five of the past six. Going to be tough here. I'm bullish the name. I think it's, I'm optimistic into earnings, but doesn't mean that. I mean, if they post a good results, got to be a strong beat and raise, I guess, for to kind of discount this to people who short it. I don't know, but I'm not going to add anything post earnings, but they report after close tomorrow. Exogen, I keep posting this one in the chat room. I mean, it's an old favorite. And I think I was talking on a red yesterday afternoon that they report earnings this morning, and the stock's just rumbling. And you know what? I have to look more at it. Listen to conference call. Uh, Gene, not Gene. Oh, what do they call? Now I'm having. I'm trying to. Sorry, apologize. What is it? Well, anyway, great company, and they've had struggles over the years. I think the stock went all the way up to $60, has come back down, and then it's just starting to get going again. And then it's like back-to-back quarters of strong results. And they pre-announced back in January at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, stock went from 14 to 18. Then it's been consolidating, now up near 20. And then you start looking at the calls, and people buying the October 35s. I I don't know, like I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'm going to sit on my hands. But maybe tomorrow, don't be surprised if I add some strikes on this one. It just I don't know. It's a great story, and if it's on the cusp of finally delivering on what they promised years ago, I mean, it could be one of those monster stocks. So that's Exogen, Caterpillar, URI. Both names look like similar to the S&P hammer candles on the daily. So those could be some reversals. I was watching those today, but I don't want to get ahead of myself there either. Uh, and then Trip's kind of flat here today. So uh, hopefully that finally can start to get going and back over the 50-day moving average. Also Sweet Green. So Sweet Green all the way down to pretty much yesterday's lows, bouncing here. I'll probably be out my calls tomorrow before the close, pending the possibility of getting out for 100% to cover costs, riding the rest. And that's it, folks. Yeah, Clear Secure. It's uh, you is such a great story, and you sit there. It's another one of those names that just gets hammered by the shorts. And I mean, here it is at 23.87. You have Needham. I think they have a $45 price target on the name. Outperform rating. Uh, as much as I want to sit here and try and get some calls, it's like the stock never reacts the way I think it should based on its fundamentals. I mean, they have an active, huge stock buyback program. They've bought back so much shares since IPO. They actively issue a dividend, high growth, 20% plus compound annual growth rate, at least over the last 5 years. Such a great story. It's just frustrating to try and trade it for now, but probably one of these earnings is going to send it. I mean, it sent it the wrong direction most recently, but all right, folks, let's have a great day. I'll be back. Rock and roll.